10,000 years ago, the west and east forks of the Chippewa River began to flow beneath the Chippewa lobe of the Laurentide Glacier. The river drops 900 feet and over 260 miles on its way to the Mississippi. The Native Americans lived along its banks, and when the fur traders arrived in the 1600s, it became an important part of the river network between Lake Superior and the Mississippi. Over 1/6 of the white and red pine forest east of the Mississippi grew up along the Chippewa and its tributaries. Between 1830 and the early 1900s, it carried millions of feet of logs to the mills in Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls. Today, the West Fork flows from Chippewa Lake, a small lake nestled in a glacial moraine northwest of Clam Lake. The East Fork bubbles up from a nest of springs northeast of the town of Glidden. The first sizable town on the river is Glidden on the East Fork. This is part of their story.
Well, you go back, way back when they first started here, putting a railroad in, it used to be called the village of the Chippewa Crossing. The old timers had, a few farmers around the river had poles in the river, piling, and then they had a board, like a board bridge across there. That's how it got the name, village of Chippewa Crossing. Then 1876 is when they changed it to the town of Glidden. It's a lot of history to the Chippewa River is really. My dad said when he was a kid, he used to throw the logs in the river down here south of Glidden and float it down to Bear Lake, and then it had a dam there in Bear Lake. Then when the spring, when the water went out, they'd with pike poles they ride the logs all the way down to Ladysmith Mill down by Ladysmith on the Chippewa River.
Wow. What we're looking at here is the headwaters of the Chippewa River. This is an area that is spring-fed. It is located on the Rodis grade. It's a fire lane that comes from County Trunk F out of Ashland County. This actually is a beginning of the Chippewa River. It is spring-fed, and it just heads south out of this area and keeps building up quantities of water in the stream as it collects on these collector streams. So this is where it begins and it ends in the Mississippi.
The Chippewa River runs behind your place here.
Yep.
Does that river play a role in people's lives here much to speak of? Or?
No.
Fished with cane poles, and we stood on the bridge. My mother was the great fisherman. In the springtime, we'd go and catch the red horse. And she would can them and pickle them.
In those days, it was in the 50s, so we had a lot of things going on as kids as far as sleigh riding, toboggan riding on Butcher's Hill and McClare's Hill. We used to sleigh ride actually right down the Main Street hill here from the Catholic Church down to the railroad track. Another important part of growing up as a youngster was we had the Sioux Line train come through town twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, and we used to hang out and watch the train go through town. That was a big deal, you know, it was those steam engines. We had the depot and the big water tower down there, and the train would stop under the water tower, and the conductor or the helper in the train would lower the big pipe and fill up the boilers with water before they could take off and head for Ashland or head for Abbotsford, or wherever direction they were going. One of the big events of the year was in the summer when the girls from Chicago would come up, and they would come up on the train and with big trunks full of clothes, and they would go to a girls' camp out on Buffalo Lake. So that was always a good hangout for us boys to watch these sharply dressed girls come to Glidden in clothes that we weren't used to seeing, and watching them and eyeballing how pretty they were. I guess that was just a boy thing for us. Presently, we are in a transitional period in Glidden with the consolidation of our school, which is going to go into effect in July of 2009. We haven't lost our school, but we've kind of lost some identity. The new school has been tabbed Schwamigan School District. Our downtown at this time is showing signs of depression or economic woes for sure. We have some buildings that have closed up. All of our old churches are gone now. We just had another setback in town as our Black Bear Industries, which specializes in hardwood moldings, closed their doors after many years. I'm sure in the 30s, or there was always a mill down on the railroad tracks from the 30s that people were employed, sometimes over 100 people employed. They closed their doors with only about 20 employees here in the last month.
I guess, I don't know, we just decided we were staying here. We weren't moving away. Like, we're staying here, we might as well invest in something nice, and hopefully when we retire, this is our retirement. This will be our 401k or whatever you say. When we sell it, this will be our retirement. This is my idea of security. We don't have to worry about gangs running up and down the street. We don't have to worry about locking our car doors. We don't have to worry about locking our house. It's just, you can walk out and don't have to worry about somebody shooting at you or robbing you, or it's peaceful, it's quiet, and everybody helps each other, everybody looks out for each other, and it's just, to me, it's a safety net.
I just love small towns. I go to a city for vacation once in a while, and I can't wait to get back here. It's just, the people are friendly. It's just no better place than a small town, especially to raise a family. We do functions, fundraisers, and I'm telling you right now, you will not get better support for anything than you will in a small town. I mean, people that don't have money are pouring money into helping veterans, and like this Guatemala trip, it's just unbelievable the support you get from a small community.
How the project started is my manager that I hired to manage my apartment building. Her and I were sitting out here and we were thinking, what can we do to make the building look a little better? And we thought, well, this wall is right by the memorial site here. Why don't we find out about doing a veterans mural? Before we knew it, we had 90 stars and 45 portraits sold within 3 weeks. We had people calling us from all over the United States. People had families, had lived in Glidden years ago, and we have veterans from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan War, and right now we are at 69 portraits. Our vision is, like I said, we want to keep it moving. We want Glidden to come to a community like it was at one time.
Did you have relatives who were in the war?
Oh, I did. That's my father, Elvin Zock. My dad wouldn't talk about it. And I actually learned more about my dad from Bernie Peterhensel. Bernie was my uncle.
I was on the SS Monterey going from Staten Island, Kilmer, New Jersey, to Casablanca. Somebody called me Bernie Peterhensel right by name. I said, it's got to be somebody from Glidden. I'm here with George Stell. He was a captain and he was with the quartermaster outfit. And many nights I thought in the foxhole I'd never see Glidden, but thank God he brought me home.
Talk about, maybe some of them talk about it in their homes and stuff, but this actually brought it out as a community, conversations.
Little sheet metal.
Wow, that's a big dog.
I'm glad he's with you guys.
Good to have him.